Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing a tier list for every single legend in Apex Legends as of Season 8. Now Season 8 just came out yesterday, but I think I have at least, a pretty good idea. There weren't, too many legend changes, or too many major legend changes, so I think I at least have a pretty good idea of how all the legends rank so far. So yeah, let's get started. First, we have Bangalore. Well, it's always been solid B tier. Tactical has always been great for healing, or to get away from fights, or to revive your teammate. It can be pretty confusing just if you just throw it down in the middle of a battle. It usually hinders yourself most of the time. It usually makes, your teammates more confused than it really helps. So it's not the best in the middle of a fight, but her ultimate has always been good, not the best. It's good for zoning, just to get people out, to get them away from the high ground, to get them to move to, low ground or a bad position. And her tactical is just really great from engaging quickly or getting away from fights. So she's going to be in B tier. Next we have Bloodhound, who has gotten so many buffs ever since. He was terrible in like Season 2, but he got so many buffs, to increase his scanner range, to make his ultimate better, and he is now the ultimate tracker. During his ultimate, his scan is only a 6-second cooldown, or 8-second cooldown, and it is just so great, because people are being scanned all the time. The scan actually lasts for a couple of seconds. So there's only a few seconds where your enemies are not being scanned, and that is just incredible in the middle of a fight. And his tactical alone is just so great for figuring out where enemies are. And not only figuring out where enemies are, but what they're doing, because it shows you the outline of the enemies. You can find out if they're healing or reviving or whatever they're doing, if they're accessing a Loba black market, whatever they're doing. So I'm gonna put him above Bangalore, just because of how useful he is, just to know where everybody is and how detrimental knowing your enemy's positions are, and you know what they're doing. That's even better. Next we have Caustic, who's gotten a few changes. It seems like every patch he gets a small change. The most recent one and the most important one was reducing the cooldown of his traps from 35 to 25 seconds. And I think he's in the middle of B tier, maybe bottom. Especially with the new map, he's just not as good. It's not... His traps don't make it hard to see anymore. It doesn't, give you that weird woozy effect. So he's really not... His traps do a lot of damage. You don't want to be in his traps for more than a few seconds, but it just doesn't give you that effect anymore. And while it's still really good, it's just people are learning how to counter it, and he's not as good in the new map. His ultimate, I think, is good, more useful in the last circle, kind of like Gibby's ult, much more useful in the last circle, but still. Next we have Crypto. Again, somebody who's in the B tier. He got a minor nerf in Season 8, where you cannot stick arc stars to his drones anymore, which was a really cool trick. Again, he still has the weakness of being incredibly underpowered in his drone. When he's out of his drone, he's incredibly underpowered and weak when he's not in his drone. So he's gonna be in the bottom of B tier, just because all of his utility is based on being in his drone, and if he's not in his drone, he's pretty much useless. So next we have the newest character, who is Fuse. Fuse is interesting. Based on grenades, his passive is very good. Basically a direct nerf to Wattson, since, he's basically completely based off of grenade spam. I think that his tactical is good. I think his ultimate is good. Nothing here is super overpowered. I think... I don't love his ultimate. I think for now we'll put him in B tier. Above Bangalore and Caustic and Crypto. His abilities are all good. His tactical does a pretty good chunk of damage, and so does his ultimate. And his passive is pretty good too, being able to carry more grenades and be able to throw them more accurate and farther. I feel like it's all good. He doesn't have one ability that's so overpowered, but if you see a Wattson that'll be able to counter all of your grenades, you're pretty much done for. Next we have Gibby. who, surprisingly enough, is still good. He did not get any damage bleed through. That is one of the things we thought he was going to get nerfed. His shield did not get any damage bleed through. He is still an A tier. Just because of his ultimate is so powerful. If there's somebody above you in a building, throw down your ultimate. If there's somebody, camping a high ground, throw down your ultimate. And his tactical is also amazing if it gives you, gives you the fast heals and the fast revives. It is so good. And his arm shield especially, he is so beefy and tanky. Next we have Horizon. I was wrong about Horizon in my last tier list. She is really good. She is really good. She is reducing the cooldown in the new patch. Reducing the cooldown of her gravity lifts definitely made her slightly less good. So she's not an S tier. She is an A++++ tier. Not S tier, but she is extremely close to S tier. She is an A tier, A++++. Next we have Lifeline. A tier. Her ultimate is good. Her tactical is also good. Her passive is incredibly annoying when used correctly. But of course, it can be countered pretty easily if you just get behind the shield. But when used correctly, her passive is extremely powerful. If you just snipe somebody, knock somebody with a sniper rifle, and that lifeline comes in and revives them, you're not going to be able to finish them off because of the shield. The only way you can really counter her passive is if you're really up close. And if she has a golden backpack, it's even worse. Next, we have Loba, C tier. Her hitbox is huge, and she doesn't even have the fortified perk. Her tactical is slow. Her ultimate is probably actually good. Her ultimate is actually pretty good, especially with the buff that she got to make it be able to take things from care packages. Her ultimate is good, but still not anything that's like game changer. She may be bottom of C tier, bottom of B tier, but for now she's just in C+. Next we have Mirage, also C tier. The footsteps for his ultimate definitely makes it a bit harder to pick out the real Mirage, but in higher level play, especially in ranked, you're not gonna fool anybody. Every time you buff Mirage, there's like a week or two where people are actually getting fooled by his decoys, and then people learn, and it's a bit easier. It can be pretty confusing in the middle of fights. Maybe B tier? No, I think I'm gonna keep him in C tier. Maybe Loba in B tier. I don't know. Next we have Octane. I think he's above Mirage with his new jump pad buff that just makes his jump pad a bit better and a bit easier to control. Yeah, I think he's pretty good. Next we have Pathfinder, who is, I think, above Bangalore in B tier. He can scan survey beacons. With the addition of the Trident, he's definitely not as good anymore. Because, just all mobility characters have been, their usefulness isn't as high anymore now that there's Tridents. So I think he's going to be in B tier. I actually think we'll put Loba in the bottom of B tier just because the buff to her ultimate does make her just barely in B tier. With Octane. And for Octane, I would give his stim a 10 seconds cooldown, but instead of giving you a 45 or 30% speed boost, it makes you go insanely fast and be able to wall jump and stuff like that. So that's what I would do to fix Octane. For Mirage, I don't know. He's tough. Every time you buff him, there's going to be a learning curve. But anyways, next we have Rampart. Top of C tier. She's just... Her walls can be shot down still pretty easily, even though they have 45 health now. When they're being set up. It's still not just great. I mean, if you can, in a couple of locations, like in big buildings and stuff, where you can block off doorways, she is pretty useful. But I'd still rather have a Caustic or a Watson. Next up, speaking of Watson, we have Watson, S tier. Especially with the introduction of Fuse, she is still S tier. She's still amazing. In casual, she's probably B plus or A, but in ranked, she is so necessary and so good. To be honest, she's not fun to play. She's extremely boring to play, but she's so useful and good. By far S tier, and on casual, probably put her in B plus or A. But anyways, next we have Wraith. She got a hitbox adjustment. Not a huge hitbox adjustment. Pretty significant, not huge. She is still extremely good for rotations. Is your team sandwiched in between two different teams and you have no way to get out? Wraith Portal. Do you need to make a quick rotation? Wraith Portal. Is your teammate stuck way, way behind you? Wraith Portal. Is your teammate down? Wraith Portal. It's just so useful. Her entire kit is so useful, and I really don't think that she's ever gonna go, like, into B tier. No matter what they can do, there's nothing that they can do to really make her go into B tier. Her kit is just so useful, unless they completely change her kit. Yeah. Next we have Rev. I think he's above Loba. He's not great. His tactical is definitely frustrating. I mean, it really depends, because like hitting an Octane with a tactical or Crypto with your tactical really isn't going to affect someone as much. If you hit a Wraith with your tactical or Gibby with your tactical, they're dead. But if you hit like Rampart, Octane, Mirage, maybe even Pathfinder, Crypto, it's really not going to have that big of an effect on them, just because, I mean, their abilities aren't, you don't really need them. They don't really give them a huge advantage in fights. Yeah, so like I said, if you hit like Rampart, Octane, Mirage, Crypto, you know, their abilities don't give them huge advantages in fights. So if you hit them with your tactical, it's not really going to do anything. You just wasted your tactical. If you hit a Wraith or a Gibby with your tactical, it's going to wipe them out. That's going to destroy them. But anyways, that's the tier list. Tell me what you guys think. This is all ranked. For example, Watson is ahead of Wraith. Bloodhound is above of Loba. This is all ranked. I think this is ranked accordingly. Mirage is still the worst. Maybe Octane. Octane is fun as heck to play, but he's just not good. Anyways, that's all. I'm going to come up with a weapon tier list soon, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.